we go with episode 11 of the Mike Spot podcast. I'm Chris, senior producer and lead designer of 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Josh, quality assurance and associate designer for 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Aaron, narrative designer for 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
All right, guys, so let's talk Eras of Wrestling. And for those who don't know what that is our new game that's currently in development. We released the title promo a few months back, and even though it's been a bit quiet on the promotional front, rest assured we are working tirelessly on it. And as you guys probably know, if you're listening to this, we are continuing to work on both of our current games at the same time as building this new game, which is, quite a task, but we're up for it, right? So we'll talk a little bit later this episode about all the recent releases for Modern Mania and 80s Mania. But let's get back to Eras to kick things off. So we are still on track for release this calendar year. So there's only so many months left, so it's coming soon. And we're happy to announce that Eras is actually going to be moving into closed beta testing. And that period's going to start sometime in September. So we are definitely projecting that by the end of August, the game's launch features will all be built and all be working to some degree. Now, of course, there's loads of polish and testing to come. But again, once you get into that phase of having everything built, you can then start letting other people besides the internal development team in and, start getting some feedback and start getting some real testing going. So it's pretty exciting that all that stuff's happening soon.
Oh, yeah.
We like to kind of reveal a new feature or talk about something new every episode. If you're ever looking for more information about Eras, you can always go back and listen to the last few episodes, and we were dropping some details about some of the new stuff coming. So I wanted to introduce a real cornerstone feature, and that's called storylines. As you guys have heard, if you listened to previous episodes when we talked about it, the underlying structure of Eras of Wrestling is that there are 5 different eras throughout the game. So that's to say that you may be playing in the Territory era, while I may be playing in the Extreme era. So our goal is that each of these eras has a different feel. If we're in 2 different eras, we'd have access to different active characters, and the UI, the user interface, is going to be visually distinct, whatever era you're in. So each of the 5 eras is going to have a unique few storylines with which you can activate. So if I'm in the Extreme era, I would go to the storyline section and I would choose which storyline to activate. Now, the wrestlers that are associated with storylines, they're all tied together thematically. And usually it's big name wrestlers, right? It's like main event guys and legendary guys. And within these storylines, you've got wrestlers, venues, special match types. You've got all sorts of cards that are associated under one theme. For example, a whole new era. If you guys are familiar with our 80s Mania Wrestling game, you're familiar with the faction called a whole new era. So imagine one of the storylines as a whole new era. When I activate that storyline, I'm going to have free access to all the wrestlers within, but only for the length of the storyline while I play it.
Yeah, just to jump in, I think that the reason behind kind of this new feature is, we've been listening to a lot of the fan feedback about card acquisition, and a lot of the kind of woes of waiting for the shop to refresh and, always being at whims of kind of the RNG of things. So we wanted to rethink that for eras, and this storylines is kind of a way to get access to these great characters for a limited time, but it gives you a way to unlock them faster. It's a really interesting way of kind of accumulating more guys, making variety in your matchups, and just kind of keeping the game fresh.
And adding objectives. There's more stuff to do. Josh made a great point here, is that a primary goal for Eras is making the collection aspect of the game a little bit more exciting. Things are presented to you that are appropriate for the era you're playing in. It's a storyline that you can overlay on top of your existing booking. Yeah, there's just more things to do. There's goals to achieve, and these bigger main event / legendary type wrestlers are acquired in a more exciting way.
Yeah. For example, I'm playing through the next gen era right now, which is kind of late 80s, early 90s. And then I just started one that's about kind of the junior heavyweight division in Japan, so I'm getting access to these top cruiserweights from around the world, and like they're kind of invading my fed and overlaying on top of the storylines that I already have going on. Like the cruiserweight championship is getting a huge boost, right? So it really is a good example of how these storylines can kind of give you access to a lot of cool stuff, but also give you access to a lot of cool new things to do. Yeah, definitely having a lot of fun with that. And then throughout the eras, there's a bunch of cool options to have that can breathe life into your fed, by adding these cool new storylines.
All right, so yeah, guys, that's basically it on the Eras update for this particular episode. As I said earlier, there's so much stuff being worked on, and there's details galore on every single one of these features we mentioned in the past, and then there's features we haven't even revealed yet. So trust me when I tell you that when the time comes to, fully open the doors on this project, there's just going to be, so much stuff, so much exciting stuff. It's hard for us to contain excitement, but we're so head down working on this thing that at this point, it's just a matter of getting to the finish line. That's the objective here. But we're trying to get these episodes out every couple months to at least, keep everyone in the loop and explain these things to you as they're on their way to you. So with that, I think we'll take a little short break. And when we come back, Aaron's going to recap the 80s Mania updates.
Hey, B, no way a little dude like you is gonna change my ways.
It's time you were tempted with a taste of nuts and honey.
Hulk Hogan doesn't eat nuts and honey.
Take this. An unbeatable part of this nutritious breakfast.
That's better than a body slam.
Undefeated.
And still champion.
It's a honey of the nut. It's Honey Nut Cheerios.
And we're back. Aaron, we mentioned that we were going to get right into 80s Mania. Been a couple things that have been released since we last talked. What did we have going on?
We've got some stuff that I've been pretty excited about. For one, a character that I think has been on our internal wish list in some fashion or another, probably for a few years. And that is the character who became Windwalker. It's been, I think, popular demand externally. And as I mentioned, definitely internally as well. A character we, in part, delayed because we wanted to really make sure that we did it well. We got it right. And to that extent, I think I want to pass it over to Chris for just a minute, because he was very closely involved with our artist, Rusty, in the details behind Windwalker. I thought that was a very cool story.
As Aaron mentioned, we always had interest, as did players, I think, in Native American representation in the game. It was on the list, but we never were quite confident or sure how to tackle it respectfully. And in a total coincidence, while working with our awesome artist Rusty Shackles months ago on a different character, he had mentioned out of the blue, hey, if you guys ever wanted to do something in that regard, in terms of a Native American wrestler, let me know. And he let me know that his background is Native American, and we were totally excited with Rusty's offer, and I brought that back to the team, and everyone was like, heck yeah, let's do this, right? So together with Rusty, and I know he ran a lot of ideas and concepts he mentioned through his family.
I think in part this was really important to us because we're creating parody characters, but we're also, a lot of our influences and the times and the characters that we are using as inspiration and basis for these things come out of a time period where things were caricatures, or they might not have been dealing with different types of people in the most respectful way. And so we wanted to not go down that path with any character that we create. And so I think Windwalker, obviously Rusty's art was going to be on point. It always is. But I think all the details of that character worked out so nicely. And so it was nice to have him so intricately involved in the creation of this character, even more so than normal. And I think that makes him kind of special. Also just brings a unique character to the game, a guy who's active for the entirety of the 90s. I've been using him as a staple of my mid-card for ever since he debuted. And so just a colorful character that brings something very fresh to the game, and we're very excited to have. That was not the only addition to the 80s roster since we last spoke. Beyond that, we had what we kind of dubbed the pop culture alt invasion, where we decided that one thing that we like to do as we are coming up with concepts for 80s and modern is looking to see if there are long-standing characters who may be kind of lonely, haven't had anything to do for a while. seeing if we can find something new for them to do, freshen them up, give them some new life.
Give them a push.
Give them a little bit of a push. And so we found some people who we really thought were perfect for that, and we found some ideas that we thought were perfect for them. I think maybe first and possibly easiest, as we noted after centuries in waiting, the wrestling debut of Ichabod Twist. Ichabod was such a unique character because Twisted Theater, his Mike Spot card, has been in the game since October 2019. And so he's this odd little dude who exists in the world but is not a wrestler. Well, now he is. If you want to fight with Ichabod Twist, you can. And so he was a no-brainer to include in this. We also have always had ideas of, maybe, shall we say, a version of Succubus that wasn't quite so nasty. And so that brought us to the creation of Jennifer Rabbit.
Ooh.
Love that name, by the way. As well as her mascot, Dodger Rabbit. It's fun when we can include a mascot here and there. Our last one, to my recollection, was Morph back in March of last year, so it's been a minute. We have some other alts in play here for Detective Dix, who you might later know as Detective X. Before he got into all the paranormal, supernatural stuff, he was just a little more of a hard-boiled street guy. We had a lady who was already bad, who I think got maybe a little bit more bad, and that is the boss woman, Mama Miseria.
This is going to hurt you way more than it hurts me.
That lady is just scary on all counts. And personally, I love any chance we get to boost the ladies division. And we had 3 alts in this, and that's great to me. And possibly my personal favorite, and one that literally came to be at the last minute. We were actually ready to pull behind the curtain a little bit. We were ready to move this update out the door. And all of a sudden we had an idea. Why not let Elfette be kind of a little princess? And so that is when Gwenevette was born.
Don't you think I'm pretty?
I'm super excited about that because it gives us the Zen plus Gwen tag team. This is just personal canon. I've just always had a soft spot for Zen. He's been here forever. And so for him to have a power couple now in the game is wonderful.
I know at least one huge Zen fan out there that may be listening too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. At least one. Yeah.
I bet everybody in our game every character probably has that one person somewhere.
Yeah.
If we scoured the Discord and whatnot.
Yeah.
I feel like I was that for Elfette, and it's nice to see her kind of get not just an alt, but some direction, like as the game goes through. I think that's like the nicest, my favorite part of the update too. So
she always struck me as a character who, even though she was bad, Elfette, I'm like, there's a good somewhere in this character. Let's
100%.
Yeah, let's get her out there. So, and then we can't go without noting the man, the myth, and the legend, Clint Delta.
We fight for our survival.
I got a lot to say about this guy. One of my favorite things about this update was watching people try to basically figure out Clint Delta.
Yeah.
So Clint comes with a tag and 5 feuds, which is a massive number of feuds, really, to introduce into a new character. And I was watching people try to find those feuds and, for lack of a better term, make sense of them. Because with most new characters, there's a certain fairly easy logic to follow in terms of figuring out who they're going to be connected with. Clint was a character that really his identity is created by those feuds and connections. And so he's a man of mythological stature. He is a walking tall tale. And so I loved watching people piece together the different feuds and discover the flavor text, the descriptions of them, and how it all worked together to sort of create the myth that he is. It was very enjoyable. And I think a lot of people immediately gave Clint quite the push as well. It's always nice when you can get a new character that immediately is moving straight to the top.
Yeah, he not only has a lot of push, but I think a lot of pull backstage.
Nice.
Probably.
Nice. Absolutely. It was a really satisfying update because it was unusual. I mean, usually we just talked about Windwalker, where you got this one centerpiece guy that's got brand new rusty art that's kind of flying solo, right? That has all, as Aaron mentioned, these sort of obvious connections within the universe. And then there was this other update where there's just a ton of characters, and the majority that were touched are very old characters. They've been around for quite some time. They've maybe been a little stagnant, not much to do, not much movement since their original release years ago. So it was almost like taking a lot of stuff that maybe sort of settled to the bottom and lifting it back up to the top, just injecting new life all over the place. And even in the case of the feuds that Aaron mentioned, right? I mean, we tried to choose some characters as feud opponents as well for Clint that could use a little love.
As a quick bonus on one of those, I'll give a little tease because this is something that I always get a kick out of whenever we get it. If you find the Broken Noses feud, you'll find that Clint's opponent has a different look than you might have seen on his regular card. It's a good look. He's pretty casual. He's enjoying himself.
Yeah, I like to think it's a shot of them like running into each other at the bar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right before a big roadhouse kick.
Right.
One final note on the alt invasion here. Like I mentioned, 1 brand new character, 5 new alts. As a cool note, we just talked about Rusty's involvement with Windwalker. All of the art for this update was done by Werner Muck, who we have worked with for years, which I loved seeing, especially that promo image of all of them together. It just felt very much like it was visually bringing this game back to its roots and sort of that original look. And so I thought that was a really cool note. But I've talked enough about 80s. I think it's Josh's turn to let us know what's been going on over in Modern Mania.
Oh, and a lot has been going on. I'll tell you what. The biggest thing first, I can't wait to talk about it. It's Viv, all right? It's
Vivian Fontaine.
Yes.
The lady of all ladies. I'm trying to think of another moniker to give her, but she's leaving me speechless already.
Yeah.
So
As she does.
So one of my favorite characters of the year, I think. You know, it's been about time since we added a new lady to the game. And it was the perfect fit. Viv is someone that has already taken over in my Fed. I'm sure it has in a lot of other Feds. 4 great, unique alts. Make sure you collect all 4 because the D alt is a sleeper hit for me, you know. There's so much to this character, and she wasn't the only person that got touched. I think that it also breathed life into some other characters that haven't been touched in a while. So fan favorite, Candy Cotton, got a couple new looks, new hairdo, you know, and some awesome feuds. So I think that as we do with these characters, you know, they touch more than just them and their alts. You know, they reach to these other, sometimes lesser utilized characters and brings them up the card too. So another one of those was Amber Teague. She, I don't know about you guys, but has kind of fallen behind in my Fed, you know, just because she hasn't been having a lot of feud opponents or tag teams, and that changed with Viv. So now she has a tag team with Viv. She has 2 new alts, or I guess reworked alts that look great, you know, and kind of just build some new personality into Amber, and more than just having a good bod.
Yeah, and if I may, really quick, hop in on Viv. Josh mentioned other characters that were associated with her. There was the Professor Wen Association. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to speak a little bit about the creation process with Viv. It's tricky sometimes. You got to do kind of 4 versions of one character, right? And that's the template. That's the model we set with Modern. That's cool. We enjoy it. And some of these, the ideas, they're sort of automatic. We're all in sync with each other right away, and we kind of know exactly how these things should play out. And I remember Viv being particularly challenging, just because there were so many directions with which to approach the character. We knew kind of who the foundational inspiration was, right, for this character. And I just remember going through all these different conversations of, oh, maybe we kind of slice her up 4 ways this way, or maybe we slice it up this way. And there was just so many things, and none of them were bad, right? They were all really interesting, cool directions. And it was tricky to settle on one and to figure out how to do it. But enter Professor Wen. I just remember at one point going, well, what if it's a time travel thing? What if she's going back in time through every iteration? And then we just kind of got a little crazy with it and, you know, took her all the way back, as Josh mentioned, to sort of prehistoric caveman times, right? With the D version. And it got a little silly and it got a little unexpected, but I appreciate that about this character.
To that point, I don't want to derail too much on like the toot your own horn kind of thing, but something that I do appreciate about working with this broader team is that a character like Viv, to what Chris was just saying, she was a long time coming, not because she was at the bottom of some list, but because we really were insistent on making sure that we got it exactly how we wanted it. As you mentioned, she went through so many different iterations of possibilities of what we could do until we finally were like, landed on where everybody was excited and in agreement about it. And it's like, this is it. You know, in this creation process, I feel like a lot of times whenever you've hit the right choice. And so I think she came out great. She really gives a whole new meaning to the era's concept. This is the BC era. And so
Speaking of making things right, it's been about time. I'm just going to read what the promo said. They've waited, we've waited, you've waited. I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The final jobbers.
Timmy Tough
And
Sherman Turk.
They've, somehow through all this process have become some of my favorite characters in the game. Kind of like with Viv, it's not like they were at the bottom of our list. It's just that we really wanted to get them right. I think it's exactly a testament to what Aaron just said with Viv, where we don't sit on stuff. We're constantly iterating it and constantly finding new angles to take things that sometimes it takes longer. They have been in the pipe for a while, and all it has done is make them age like a fine wine.
Yeah, exactly.
So with Timmy, we played off a lot of different things. We played off some legacy stuff as being a tough son. He's not just Timmy Tough, he's Tommy Tough's brother. So he's got a lot of legacy. And Sherman as well. Sherman's a fan favorite. We definitely wanted to get that right. So be on the lookout for some great alts. Timmy has, he's a little bit of a bully. He's got the big cat hunter side of him. He loves getting exotic kills. He's kind of fighting from underneath. Like this is a wrestling ring, and he's trying to fight these big cats. So he might need a little extra assistance to take out some of his feud opponents. So be on the lookout for that.
I really enjoy those feuds that Tiger Tough has. I love the unevenness of them, and I love imagining them playing out in real time in maybe like a hardcore match setting too.
Right. He might need a little extra X Factor help,
yes,
to take out some of those feuds. I think it adds a little bit to the character for sure,
He does have a X Factor focus if you check it out.
Yep, I'm sure people have found that.
Timmy's got a lot of audacity, and he's to play off of the concept of this big cat's big game. He's a guy who might bite off a little more than he can chew, because there is some big game in this.
In this big game, yeah.
In this big game.
The inspiration for Tiger Tough has been around since day one of original Modern Mania when the artwork came out. If you guys remember back in 2020, that artwork for Timmy Tough came out in the original game, and I think all of us looked at that and goes, man, he really looks like somebody. I don't know who, but and here we are 5 years later, and finally, we pull in this kind of dated reference, but I find it very appropriate for Timmy that he would be dated in his reference,
Yeah, sometimes tough guys just they do things their own way.
That's it.
Speaking of dated, he also kind of goes back in time a little bit for his C alt, going a little more vaporwave, a little neon, trying to relive his glory days a little bit with his buddy Budrick. The
Accelerators
team, these kind of guys who like to live fast and hopefully pick up a couple wins. Hopefully. But I didn't even mention his last D alt, his kind of most final form. Some great art. I love the take on Timmy and the big mustache and everything. I think that he's an old tough guy that's just, I described him kind of as like if you've ever been to like a local show in the South, I don't know, this may be talking from my personal experience, but there's always the tough guy on the card that is this old tough guy, and people aren't even sure if he's wrestling for real or not, and that's kind of how I picture Timmy Tough D, and I think that it's perfect.
Yeah, the Tough family has been around the business for many years, and they've seen a lot of things. Mm-hmm. They've got presence in the locker room. Yeah.
He's surely got the most glorious mustache in the whole game, so.
Yeah, I think
probably,
so.
Right?
I think
probably.
so.
I'm not going to scout the whole roster to verify that claim, but let's just
assume it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave a comment if you see a nicer mustache. With that, I don't want to leave Sherman out. Possibly the most popular jobber of all time, Sherman Turk, got a huge update. Maybe we had some nostalgia ringing when we were making Timmy, but we decided to give Sherman a little bit of a pull back to 80s, kind of a nerd alert vibe. So for some reason with Sherman, we had like this very particular image of how we wanted him to go. We went on the path of he's the smart guy.
I think Aaron had a really cool perspective on the original bio, the original flavor line for Sherman, where it mentioned something about him being a jobber and losing all the time. But I think, Aaron put it like he overthinks.
Yeah.
And we kind of went with that. And,
exactly.
And as Josh will tell you, it went from Sherman the nerd all the way to he got his doctorate.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, all that time losing in the ring, it gave him a lot of time to focus on other skills, and he focused on his mental acuity.
That's it.
Like he had to learn why he was losing so much. He was overthinking all these problems, and now, it really paid off for him in the end, him going back to the school of hard knocks, if you will.
Yeah.
Personally, one of my favorite art updates of the entire month is Sherman's shoes when he's on his C alt. Him wearing the covers on his shoes, I think is brilliant, hilarious. I haven't mentioned it to either of you two until now, but it's so funny to me.
What a touch.
Shout out one more time to Werner, because I did not request that in the art direction. That was he did that, and we loved it.
So Sherman, he's bringing a little bit of a PhD vibe now to your Fed. He's maybe some smarter booking for Sherman, and
you want to talk about the moment?
Yeah, talk about presence, exactly. And I mean, talking about spicing up your tag team division. I think that
the moment
most excited I've been for a tag team in a while, and yeah, they're already wreaking havoc on my undercard tag division. I can't wait for them to get a little bit of a push and maybe up to the titles, because it's going to be exciting times for them. It's going to be the moment when that happens.
There you go.
He's definitely a guy who, as you're kind of alluding to there, has waited for and deserved his moment. Yeah. So I think that was a very appropriate title. Well, something I love about this update of Timmy and Sherman is kind of the parallels between the two in these new versions, because you have influences coming from wrestling, you have influences coming from pop culture, you have influences coming from the legacy of the game back in 80s for both of them. And you also have each bringing in a brand new tag team to freshen up the division. I think that they aligned so well as partners in their own right in this update.
Yeah, spiritual partners for sure,
Mm-hmm. I also just got word from the enhancers, who are slightly upset that we keep mentioning that these are the final two jobbers that have gotten their updates. So I don't know. Stay tuned for that. I don't know what they're up to, but
oh boy. Yeah, oh boy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
They're scary. I don't want to find out. I don't want to get them mad at us.
Well, we got some other things to take care of first, but we'll get back to you, enhancers. But now's maybe a good time to move over to the shoutouts. There is one particular shoutout that we definitely have to mention here. And this one is for Horde Mord. I hope I'm saying that right. I think I'm saying that right. Horde Mord's been around in the community. So what makes Horde Mord special is the fact that they actually create custom stuffies and action figures. I've seen stuff in the past for 80s Mania Returns. I've seen stuff in terms of, I don't know if they call them stuffies, but they're almost like dolls, if you will, of our characters, right?
Yeah, they're kind of like wrestling buddies or something.
Wrestling buddies. That's a good pull. Yeah, they're almost like wrestling buddies, smaller versions. But anyway, Horde Mord's been doing this for quite some time. The last time we hopped onto Discord, we got a DM from Horde. They asked if we were able to take these, and it's one of Slashmaster and one of Morph. And I, unfortunately, was unable to take it, but someone stepped up, and that person's Josh. Josh stepped up and received these in the mail. So I'm going to let Josh tell you a little bit about these things.
Of course, I got Slashmaster right here. They round out my desk right behind me here. I got Morph. The two hilariously makes me want to run them as a pair. If you could see the video, like I'm not recording the video, but it makes me want to run Morph as like a manager for Slash, just because it's like, what a great pairing these two had. They look great
Actually,
together.
We'll throw up a picture right now on the video.
We'll throw
if you guys
up a photo.
Check out the YouTube video, and we'll show a photo of these things if you haven't seen them. They're pretty amazing. So
pretty amazing, yeah, definitely. Slash is epic as he should be, and then Morph is adorable. So I thank you, Horde, for you shipped them all the way to my house and a big old box, and it was fantastic. Thank you so much, Horde. I appreciate it.
For some reason, I remember a He-Beast, maybe a Dude Brohan, but I've got to look back through our old social media posts, because I know back in the day we used to post pictures of Horde's, action figures, and they were kind of more, if I'm not mistaken, they were more like the Remco figures, like He-Man figures type.
Yeah.
That style.
Well, he likes them. He just got some new figures. Actually, he's working on let me see. I think he's working on on Doberman right now, and then I just saw a poll that he's working on the Van Winkle 4. So I think that he's
oh, that's awesome.
Van Winkle 3, four new figures, he said. But yeah, he's always working on stuff. It's amazing work.
Amazing. Yeah, that is so cool. Well, anyway, again, we wanted to shout out, a longtime player, supporter of the games, super creative person, super talented person. I'll speak for Josh here, a thank you for donating those to us, to our team. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's always great to see, the love for these games that the players have. And I think that fan art and kind of like, taking time out of your day and using some of your creative energy on these games is just, that's what we love to do. So seeing other people do it, it just like is one of the most rewarding things. So thanks again, Horde.
Well, guys, I think we talked enough, didn't we? I mean, we gave news updates, we gave recaps, we gave personal opinions and shout outs. I mean, we said it all.
Wow.
There's only one thing left to do. Pick up your phone or tablet and play the game. So that's what I'm going to do. I got to go. I'm out of here.
Out of here. We got to get back to playing those
Me too.
games. All three of these games now, guys.
So until next time, have fun playing, and as always,
if you're down for more mic spots,
stay tuned.
Are you a fan of Checkmate creative content? The most impactful way to show your support is by leaving our games 5-star ratings on Google Play and the App Store. That ensures we keep making more of the content you love and games you want to play. Following both 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling on Instagram, X, and Facebook is the best way to stay up to date with our latest news and character reveals. We invite you to share any and all feedback about your playing experience directly with us at support@80smaniawrestling.com or support@modernmaniawrestling.com.
This has been a Checkmate Creative production.